Okay, so for today's lesson or this lessons, we're going to look at the structure of the vacuole. Okay, and vacuole, they are something like vesicle. They are single membrane bound organelles. Okay, vacuole, write down. They are single membrane bound. Okay, so they are within the cytoplasm of the cells. So generally, when we talk about vacuole, we talk about the plants. But do remember that both plants and animal cells, both of them have vacuole. But for plant cells, we are more focused in terms of plant cells because they have this what we call the centrally located large vacuole, and it's a permanent one. Are you clear? Animal, they don't have centrally located large vacuole which is permanent. No. Okay, for animal cells, the vacuole that we have very small. They are not centrally located throughout the cells, and they are temporary. So for vacuole of the plant cells, they're surrounded by the membrane. Okay? This is a membrane. So this membrane, we give them a special name called tonoplast. So only tonoplast only for plant cell. Are you clear? Okay. So means that animal cells, do they have membrane? Yes, they do have membrane. Animal cells, vacuole also have the membrane, but we don't give them a special name called tonoplast. Okay. So these large vacuoles slowly develop as the cell matured by fusion of small vacuole derived from the endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus. And because the central vacuole is highly selective in transporting material, so the cell sets. Okay, so the material inside is known as cell set. Okay, so the cell set, the chemical platelets of the vacuole solution differ markedly from the surrounding cytoplasm. So this membrane, they are selectively permeable. Okay, selectively permeable. So what is the function of vacuole in the plants? Basically, they regulate the turgor pressure. So it means that make sure that the plant cell is turgid. So regulate the turgor pressure. And the central vacuole also play a very important role in the growth of the plant cell. So it means that for plant cell to be elongated, what they need to do is, this is a plant cell. So they have a centrally located large vacuole. So the expansions of the vacuole basically make the cell longer, larger. So when the cell grow in size, so very simple for them, they do not need to generate much of the cytoplasm because they just need to expand the vacuole. So when the vacuole expands, the cell actually expands. So this is involved in the growth of the plant cells. Okay, so what is the inside? So generally, water molecule. Okay, water molecule are the one that's stored inside the plant vacuole. Okay, so later we'll come back to this. So plant vacuole is also important in what we call the molecular degradations and also the storage. Okay, so what's been molecular degradation? We do know that plant cells, they do not have lysosome. Okay, plant cells, they do not have lysosome. So how they carry out molecular degradation? So vacuoles serve as the compartments for the breaking down material, which is similar to the lysosome found in the animal cells. So generally lysosome, you won't get them in the plant cells, unless some plant cells, they have lysosome. For example, we call it the carnivorous plant cells. Carnivorous plant cells carnivorous plants. Carnivorous plants, for example, those that eat insect. For example, Venus flytrap, and they do have some plant, but generally plant cells, they don't have lysosome. But to carry out molecular degradations, they use their vacuole. Okay, and also for the storage. So store what? Very important to store water. What else? What else they store? They store the salts, the ions, mineral ions, nutrients, and some proteins are stored inside. And they also store the pigments to give the plants and the color, for example, flower. Okay, so vacuole also release the molecule, they are poisonous, okay, or unpalatable to the various insect and animals, so discouraging them from consuming the plant. So this kind of molecule also termed as secondary metabolite. Okay, secondary metabolite basically means that they are not involved. So with the term, this is come in the textbook. Secondary metabolite is no longer in our syllabus, okay, already removed. But these words or these terms come out in our textbook, the newest textbook, okay, secondary metabolite. So this kind of words can be used in our exam, for example, paper 1. So what's meant by secondary metabolite? We have the primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Primary of metabolite basically means that the one that involved in growth. Are you clear? So growth process require primary metabolite. For example, they synthesize glucose, they do have the protein, those are the primary metabolite. Secondary metabolites more for the defense. Okay, some chemical that used for the defense mechanism. Are you clear? So those termed as secondary metabolites. Are you clear? Okay. So how about animal vacuole? Animal vacuole, they are temporary and they are smaller compared to the plants. Okay. So the vacuole, animal vacuole, most of the time we also call them as a vesicle. Okay, we call them, because small, we call them as a vesicle. So they involve in the process of exocytosis and endocytosis that we have learned. Okay, so during exocytosis, animal vacuole are simply storage vesicle, which allow the containment, transport, and disposal. Okay, transport vesicle is one of the type of vacuole. Okay, so and after endocytosis, the mineral is temporarily enclosed in the vacuole. So before the lysosome can completely break down the material, and this vacuole we also call it as a vesicle. Okay, Ken? Okay, so now take 1 minute as of the records. So let's look at the structures. And look at this first. We do have this membrane. So the membranes of the plant vacuole, it's not a membrane of vacuole. Membrane of plant vacuole is termed as tonoplast. So right now, vacuole, you will talk about vacuole in general. So plant, yes. Animal, cell, yes. But when we talk about tonoplast, then only in plant. But don't get the concept wrong. Okay, the vacuole of the animal also have the membrane, but we don't give them a special name called tonoplast, because tonoplast only, okay, tonoplast only available for plant cells. Okay, the plant vacuole, the membrane of plant vacuole. So the item, okay, or the chemical inside, okay, there is a vacuole is known as the cell set, where they store the nutrient, they store the glucose, they store the salt inside this cell set. Okay, so if you look at the structure of the plant cells, you can see that they have a very large centrally located vacuole and push all the cytoplasm to the side. So this kind of the cytoplasm is termed as peripheral cytoplasm. Okay, peripheral means that at the side. So in this case, you can see that you have the nucleus, you have the, can you see that? These are the chloroplasts, the heavily stained chloroplasts, okay, with some those small temporary vesicle. Okay, so now next one, a bit special about this vacuole, which is not in our syllabus, is called contractile vacuole. So contractile vacuole basically are found inside the prototis, unicellular eukaryotic cells. Okay, unicellular eukaryotic cells. This structure actually are not really involved in the storage. They are involved in what we call the osmoregulation. So involved in the controlling of the water potential. Okay, so now very, very simple. If you look at any cell that they put them inside the fresh water. Okay, those the amoeba, for example, unicellular prototis, okay, that live in the fresh water. What will happen here is we know that fresh water, the concentration actually is low, so water potential is high. Are you clear? And inside the cell, because cells got a lot of the ions, a lot of the glucose, a lot of the nutrients, therefore the concentration is high, therefore water potential is low. So it means that if you look at this process, water molecule can enter from the high water potential regions to low water potential, and this cell will burst. Are you clear? This cell will burst. But in order to prevent the bursting of the cell or to regulate the water potential, or in this term we use the osmoregulation. So this vacuole, special vacuole, can you see that? Is known as contractile vacuole. So they actually contract rhythmically. So it means that at a regular interval to cause the water molecule to be expelled out, okay, from the contractile vacuole, okay. So you can see that the contractile vacuole acts as part of protective mechanism that prevent possibly lysing or rupture of the cells if excessive water molecule move into the cells by osmosis. So contractile vacuole can expel water out by the of the cells by the process of contracting. So the growth and the contractions of the contractile vacuole are periodically. So it means that water enter until a certain level, then we pump them out. So how they pump out? They're using this contractile vacuole. Right? So we're going to learn about this water potential in the next chapter. Again, next chapter, yeah. Okay. So it means that when the water potential is high outside, inside is low, so water molecule now move into the cells by osmosis. So in order to stop or to prevent the bursting, then this contractile vacuole can help to expel out the water molecules, so that make sure that the cell won't burst. Okay, so we can see that this is a contractile vacuole. Okay, contractile vacuole is not in our syllabus, but this question come out in the paper one before. So what is the function of contractile vacuole? So to make sure that the cell won't lyse. Okay, so with this I have done for the parts, okay, vacuole.